we're talking about Northwestern. We do have one last opponent to discuss before the summer is over, and that is the Northwestern Wildcats. Illinois will be hosting them in Champaign on November the 29th. That is the Saturday after Thanksgiving, as they typically do, since that is the big in-state rivalry. They save that one for the end. Northwestern is also playing Western Illinois in week 2. So Western Illinois will be in Champaign week 1 to get crushed next Friday. And then first week of September, they'll probably get crushed less, but still crushed in that temporary stadium that they have up in Evanston. That's really goofy, but really cool at the same time. I honestly kind of have mixed feelings about it. But we don't have to worry about it because Northwestern is coming here this year. Or I shouldn't say here when I live like 30 minutes away from in Champaign. They're coming in Champaign, where I am not. I don't know why I said here. But in Northwestern, before meeting us, will be capping off a 2-week homestand. They'll face Michigan and then Minnesota back-to-back in Evanston before coming down to Champaign for that final matchup of the year. All time against Northwestern, our Illini are 58, 55, and 5. That's a lot of fives for you. And they are 27, 25, and 2 in front of the home fans. Their last meeting came on November 30th of last year. That same thing, that Saturday after Thanksgiving is when these teams typically meet for their big rivalry to cap off the season. And that was played at Wrigley Field since Northwestern didn't want to host us at that temporary stadium. So they played that game in Wrigley Field, which is very, very weird in terms of dimensions and stuff. Like, you overrun the end zone, you're going straight into a freaking brick wall. I'm not exaggerating at all. I feel like that's dangerous. A lot of baseball stadiums are not meant to fit regulation-sized football fields. But it doesn't matter. We beat them 38-28 in that game at Wrigley last year. Our last meeting in Champaign then came the year prior, November 25th, 2023, in which the Illini definitely had a down year for sure. The Illini and Northwestern was actually pretty good in 2023, which we'll get to in a second. But they beat us that time 45-43. Their first meeting goes back all the way to October 12th, 1892, in which there was a thrilling tie, 16-16, back in the day. Their next meeting then came the following year in 1893. This was then their first meeting in Evanston, and they tied again, 0-0. I would want a refund on my nickel, as I've been saying, as there have been a lot of 0-0 ties in the 1890s. The more we look back at these really old, historic Illinois opponents. The one after that, though, somebody finally won. The Illini won 66-0 in Champaign on November 3rd, 1894. How are you giving up 66 points in 1894? They hadn't even invented the forward pass. How are you that bad? Oh, my God. Those people are probably just trying to understand the game at that point. I must have had their minds blown by all those points. Anyway, the recent history for Northwestern, as I always like to look at the last 5 years of our opponents' programs, see where have they been recently, kind of where are they at now? What is the context for this Northwestern team? Obviously, we'll know pretty much the outcome of both the teams' seasons by the time they meet, since it is the regular season finale that we'll be getting at the end of November. But last year, Northwestern was they were 4-8, 2-7 in the Big Ten, and 2-3 on the road. Their wins were against Miami of Ohio, Eastern Illinois, at Maryland, which is a pretty good win, and then at Purdue. Their losses were Duke, who Illinois will meet with. Northwestern has played Duke a ton the last few years. But finally, it's Illinois' turn. They lost to Duke, but it was only 26-20. That was in Evanston. Not a bad game against a decent Duke team that the Illini will be seeing first weekend of September this year. They also lost at Washington, to Indiana, to Wisconsin, at Iowa, to Ohio State, at Michigan, and then finally to our Illini. So they did not make a bowl game. But in 2023, they were a lot better than that, actually. Last year was a bit of a letdown for their second-year head coach, because in 2023, he was pretty dang good when he took over the program in crisis. He's 8-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten, 2-3 on the road. They ended that year on a 4-game win streak after an start. They lost to Duke again. They have not beaten Duke in the 4 straight years that they have played them. They did beat Illinois then 45-43. That's when they beat them in Champaign. They really didn't score a whole lot this year, honestly, which is crazy that Illinois gave up 45 points there. I guess leave it to Illinois to do that. They also made it to the SRS Distribution Bowl in Las Vegas, in which they beat the Utah Utes 14-7 at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. That year was completely out of nowhere, because in 2022, they were hot trash. They were 1-11, 1-8 in the Big Ten, and winless 0-5 on the road. Their one win came in week 0. You know how they do that one game in Ireland every year? It's coming up, actually. I forget who's playing it. But they do that one game in Ireland every year to like kick off the college football season. And they beat Nebraska in Dublin in week 0, 31-28, and then never won again. So they didn't win a single game on United States soil in 2022. They lost to Duke again. They lost to Southern Illinois and Miami of Ohio. And they got absolutely obliterated by the Big Ten. They hosted Illinois in Evanston. That was Illinois' last game at the old Ryan Field before they get this new one in a couple years. And Illinois smoked them 41-3. 2021, they were 3-9, and not that bad, but still, not a good year. They were 1-8, 0-5 on the road again. They lost 6 straight, actually, after a 3-3 start. They lost to Duke again, got destroyed in the Big Ten again, got destroyed by the Illini in Champaign 47-14. And in the shortened 2020 year, they were actually even better than they were in that surprise 2023 year. They were surprisingly good in the shortened COVID season. They were 7-2. They started 5-0, including a win against Maryland 43-3 to start the year. Their only loss the regular season was actually at Michigan State, meaning, yes, they did beat Illinois in Evanston that year 28-10. They took care of business against the Illini. Their only other loss besides that Michigan State game was in the Big Ten championship. Northwestern was in a Big Ten championship this decade. If you remembered that, props to you, because I did not remember that at all. Oh, my God. They lost to Ohio State, though, in that, so they didn't make that playoff that year. But they went to the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, everyone's favorite, and they beat Auburn 35-19. So that was a really good year for them. Their head coach is David Braun. He's entering his 3rd year. Kind of an interesting situation for him, right? He took over as head coach at the start of the 2023 season. He is 12-13 after 2 years with the Northwestern Wildcats, and he's 1-0 in bowls. He's got a bit of an interesting journey. He did some defensive line at, I believe, Culver College. He was a defensive line coach there. Then he was a defensive line coach and linebacker coach at Northern Iowa from 2017 to 2018. Then he took over as the defensive coordinator for North Dakota State out of the FCS from 2019. Held that job until 2022. In January 23, he was named the defensive coordinator for Northwestern, but then was immediately made head coach because Pat Fitzgerald got fired. There was that whole hazing scandal that Northwestern had that led the coach to being fired because they basically found out that he knew about it and did absolutely nothing. So he got fired for that. He sucked anyway. I don't know why they were going to keep him. He's coming off a 1-11 year. So he kind of got thrust into the spotlight all of a sudden. Like, he just got his big first job as a defensive coordinator, and now he's got to coach this dumpster fire of a team, and he did a great job. He did a great job of that 2023 season. as the interim head coach. He snapped their 14-game road losing streak with a win at Wisconsin and was immediately signed to officially be their head coach in the long term, no longer an interim. He was also named Big Ten Coach of the Year that year. It was the most wins, with 8 wins, for a first-year head coach in Northwestern history since 1903. But again, a very, very disappointing year for him last year. Even as someone who hates Northwestern with a passion, I was still, you got to root for the guy. I mean, what a bizarre story. Just kind of right guy in the right time, kind of coincidence. Last 30 seconds here, I want to run through some players that you're going to have to watch out for really quickly on this Northwestern roster. Yes, I was able to find 10 entire players that are formidable on this roster. No shade, though. You got Aiden Hubbard. He is a senior edge rusher. He is the captain of their defense. You've got Caleb Tiernan. He is an offensive tackle with NFL-level talent. He is a NFL prospect and a leader of their offensive line. Then you have Mac Unlein. He is a linebacker. He was their leading tackler last year. I definitely botched his name. Cam Porter is a running back senior. He's coming back from an ACL injury. He missed pretty much the entire 2024 season, but definitely a reliable back before that. You got Preston Stone. This is going to be the real wild card for the Wildcats. He is coming in at quarterback. He's a senior transfer from SMU, and he definitely has a chance to kickstart this offense that just really hasn't been good. Even when they were good in 2023, it wasn't that good of an offense. Then you got Yanni Karloftis. He's a linebacker and a senior. He is the younger brother of George Karloftis on the Kansas City Chiefs, if you're familiar. You got Damon Walters. He is a safety, a sophomore. He was an all Big Ten honorable mention as a freshman last year. You have Griffin Wild. He's a wide receiver transfer from SDSU. He is a new deep threat for them to play with. Then you got Anto Saka. He is an edge rusher. He's a junior pass rusher. He's also getting some NFL buzz. Not quite a prospect yet, but definitely in the cards for him. And then you got Xavier Gray. He's an offensive tackle and another veteran on that offensive line.